But I want you to know the person that you let die, if you would have even given him even a wink or a I'm not okay or God, please help me, he would have died defending you instead of not having a clue and getting ambushed. I want you to take responsibility. I need to know that you've taken responsibility for these things and that you know that you let a good human being, someone that was a true hero, you let him die. And then you let another hero be shot in the head as well as other civilians. You ran after that man that didn't even care about you.
We are about to watch the parole hearing of a Utah woman who was involved in the killing and maiming of two police officers back in 2014. The victims of the families come up to speak, including the surviving police officer. Before we watch this Utah parole hearing, let's jump into the initial news story.
17-year-old girl faces serious charges for her role in a shooting spree that crossed 2 counties, leaving one officer dead and another in the hospital.
Prosecutors say Megan Grunwald was Jose Garcia's girlfriend. Now, Garcia died after a final gun battle with JUAB deputies.
And investigators say she was a willing participant in the violent crime spree. Central Utah specialist Sam Penrod is live at the courthouse in Provo with more. Sam, prosecutors appear to be throwing the book at this teen.
Yeah, she was charged here this afternoon as an adult. Megan Grunwald is accused of 15 felonies, including aggravated murder for her role in the shooting death of Sergeant Corey Ride. And her friends told prosecutors that she is pregnant with Garcia's baby.
This was the end of the road for Megan Grunwald, who was arrested after her boyfriend was shot during a gunfight with JUAB deputies. Court documents state his last words were, quote, "You're not going to let me kiss my girl with my last dying breath." That admission, prosecutors believe, proves Grunwald was a willing partner in the shootings. One of her neighbors in Draper, who does not want to be identified, agrees, telling us the two had been living together with Grunwald's family.
On the day of the incident, Megan got in her truck and drove off. And then later that afternoon, all the news people and the police and everything were here until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Investigators say Grunwald was driving this pickup truck from Eagle Mountain until the tires were spiked at the Nephi exit and helped Garcia carjack a woman along the way. Charging documents also state Grunwald sped away after Sergeant Corey Ride was shot, and here in Santaquin slammed on the brakes to close the gap with Deputy Greg Sherwood's vehicle as Garcia fired from the rear window of the truck, shooting Sherwood in the head. At the time of the arrest, preliminary toxicology showed Grunwald had amphetamines and methamphetamines in her system. Grunwald will be prosecuted simultaneously by both Utah County and JUAB County in Provo, since the offenses in both counties happened during the same criminal episode.
Number 40, State of Utah versus Robert McCall. President coming up here. McCall is present today, set for a plea trial.
Honor, in this matter, spoken with Mr. P. Weir, that's number 23 on your calendar.
Number 23, State of Utah versus Megan Grunwald. Ms. Grunwald is present today. Matter set for a plea trial conference.
Your Honor, we asked that this be set to see if there have been any progress as it relates to resolving some of the issues. What is resolvable has been resolved. I don't know that this case is going to settle short of going to trial, so we ask the court.
We were on the record today as Monday, November 24th, 2014. This is 4th District Court, Division 10.
The offer in this case was a first-degree felony count of murder with a maximum punishment of 15 years of life, concurrent with a third-degree felony aggravated assault, concurrent with a third-degree felony attempted robbery. And with that, the matrix shows her going to the Utah State Prison for 15 years. The state, if the defendant was a model type inmate, would believe that would be an appropriate punishment in this case and would recommend that to the Board of Pardons. And that was the offer that we gave to the defendant that she's rejecting today.
We're miles apart. My client has instructed me to reject that offer and we'll stand on it.
Okay, thank you.
With that?
Mr. Grunwald, is that your understanding? Okay, thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you, Your Honor.
next one, just one more.
Lindsay Harris is numbers 27 and 28 on the calendar.
27 and 28, State versus Lindsay Harris.
Now, that did not work out well for her because she was convicted in a jury trial and sentenced to a minimum of 30 years to life. Yet, she filed a 110-page appeal and won. And in 2020, she was ordered a new trial, which at that point, the DA said, you know what, we're just going to give you a plea deal.
A woman involved in the 2014 death of a Utah County Sheriff Sergeant is sentenced again. Megan Grunwald pled guilty to manslaughter and assault of a peace officer for her role in the shooting death of Corey Ride. Loved ones of the fallen sergeant hope this can finally allow the healing process to begin.
Fox 13's John Franke is live at the state prison in Draper tonight with a look at the long process and reaction from Ride's family. John.
Grunwald was originally found guilty of murder, but that conviction was overturned by the Utah Supreme Court because of errors in the jury instructions. This sentence means Grunwald will spend less time here behind bars, but it does not lessen the pain being felt by Ride's family.
We got a life sentence when Corey was murdered.
More than 7 years since Sergeant Corey Ride was killed in the line of duty, the emotion of his widow, Nanette, remains raw.
My big fear was that she was going to be let out and hurt someone again.
Ride was killed on January 30th, 2014. That night, he approached a truck occupied by Megan Grunwald and her boyfriend, Jose Angel Garcia Waregui. Waregui fired the fatal shot. He was later killed by police. Grunwald was charged as an accomplice.
Our family has really had a lot of Band-Aid rip-offs, and it has really sucked because we've had to, relive January 30th, 2014 again and again and again and again.
The Utah Supreme Court threw out Grunwald's murder conviction last year. That set the stage for another trial.
I don't think you ever get good at this. I think we've all become weary.
A trial was avoided when Grunwald pled guilty to lesser charges of manslaughter and assault of a peace officer. At Monday's sentencing, Ride's daughter described the pain she's felt for 7 years.
I'm 21 years old now, and somehow I feel like I'm grieving my dad's death all over again. The adult me is grieving what I lost, what I could have had.
In remarks to the judge, Grunwald said she's taken several courses in her associate's degree while in prison, all part of what she described as an effort to show remorse and better her life.
I do take responsibility, though, for the recklessness of my actions. I have learned how basically deadly these consequences were that I made.
The judge sentenced Grunwald to the maximum, 1 to 15 years for each of the two crimes, sentences that will run consecutively, but will also give her a chance to eventually return to society.
I don't think there is anything she could say or do or time spent in prison that could be fair. Like I said, our family got a life sentence. I don't get Corey back. I don't get my family back.
Under this sentence, the maximum Grunwald faces is 15 years per crime or 30 years total. But ultimately, the Utah State Board of Pardons and Parole has the final say. I reached out to the Utah County Attorney. They tell me that under the sentencing matrix and with time served, Grunwald could be paroled in about 6 years. However, those consecutive sentences gives the board a bit more leeway in holding her in prison longer. In Draper, John Franke.
And if you can believe it, from 2020 until now, on the plea deal they gave, which still has her sentenced to over 100 years, we are seeing her up for parole just 4 years later. The victims come up and speak, and they give emotional, powerful, profound statements. Now, I'll unpack it with the details at the end, and I'll also give you the results of the parole hearing. With that, let's jump in.
Good morning. We are on the record now. This is the time set for an original hearing for Megan Dakota Grunwald. Is that you?
Yes.
Can you tell me your offender number?
223233.
Thank you. My name is Blake Hills. I'm a member of the Board of Pardons and Parole, and I've been assigned to conduct this hearing. I need to swear you in, so please raise your right hand. Do you promise that the testimony you will give will be truthful and correct?
Yes.
Thank you. Did you receive at least 7 days' notice of the hearing?
Yes.
Did you receive a blue disclosure packet?
Yes.
Did you review it?
Yes.
Are there any comments, questions, or corrections to bring up about the packet, or was it generally fine?
There was some technical things, and me and my lawyer submitted a letter to the board.
And I did receive that and review it. Other than that, are there any other comments you need to make about the packet itself?
No.
All right. Now, in order for me to be respectful to everyone, do you prefer that I refer to you as Ms., Mr., or something else?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
All right. For your benefit and the benefit of everyone who is here, let me explain how the hearing will proceed. This is being broadcast online. There may be people watching, and I know one of the victims is watching and he'll be speaking. I want you and everyone else to know that no decision is announced in this hearing today. So anybody who is waiting to hear what the decision will be, that will not happen today. That will come at another time. And I'll explain towards the end how that will occur. Do you understand that?
Yes.
The way we will proceed first is I've been notified that Sergeant Sherwood will be speaking online. And then at least one victim representative, although there may be two. Will there be two? Possibly two. So we will hear from at least one victim representative in person, possibly two. We will hear from the victims and victim representatives first. Then you'll have an opportunity to respond if you wish. You're not required to, but you do have that opportunity. After that, we will talk about the offenses. We will talk about what you've been doing in prison, and then what any release plans may be. At the end of the hearing, I'll give you an opportunity to bring up anything you feel the board needs to know that we haven't covered. Do you understand that?
Yes.
And I want you and everybody else to know that I will ask hard questions. These questions are not designed to embarrass you or any of the victims or anybody else. Do you understand?
Yes.
They're designed to get information, not to make anybody feel uncomfortable or embarrassed. But it's important that the board receive the information. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right. For those who wish to speak in person, would you rather go first or would you rather go after Sergeant Sherwood? After? Sergeant Sherwood, can you unmute your microphone and let me know when you have done so?
I am here.
Even though I can't see you, would you please raise your right? I can see you now. Can you raise your right hand? Do you promise that the testimony you will give will be truthful and accurate?
Yes.
Thank you. I will let you and everybody else know that I will take a few notes. I won't take extensive notes because I will go back and listen to the recording of this hearing later. All right, Sergeant Sherwood, would you go ahead and let me know what you would like the board to know?
My purpose of being here today is to show my face and to represent the Utah County Sheriff's Office and also Sergeant Corey Wright, who was killed. I was the officer that was shot in the head and suffered quite a bit of pain and injuries that have been ongoing. My point of appearing today is to see what Miss Grunwald is doing with herself and how she has been taking accountability for the actions that day, and also to see where she's at in her sentence. My message today is that we are here as victims, that our lives were affected, but we also have understanding for circumstances in people's lives, and we have forgiveness for those that have made some choices in their lives, and we understand that there is healing and progression in life, and we're not here to hold people back, but we are here to show our face and show that their lives, many lives were affected that day. And that is all I have for today.
Thank you, Sergeant. You can either leave your camera on or turn it off. It's up to you. However, if you will mute your microphone, that will help with the recording. But thank you for your statement. All right, who would like to speak first? If you would go over to where that microphone is. Even though I have your name written down for the record, will you state your legal name?
Nanette Ride-Zeman.
Thank you. And will you please raise your right hand? Do you promise that the testimony you will give will be truthful and accurate?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm here today to, sorry. I'm here today to represent my husband and be his voice because he doesn't have a voice any longer. You know, you'd think after 10 years it would get easier, but it's not. You know, none of us would be here, not Megan, not us, would be here if the Board of Pardons or Parole, is that what it is? Board of Parole hadn't made the grave error of releasing pure evil into this world after he served 4.5 years after stabbing a dear friend over 20 times and running him over with a car and then caving in another friend's face with a crowbar and also committing complete violence in the prison while he was there. He served 4.5 years and then was released. So I'm praying this board, this new board, is wiser and makes decisions based on fact and with their heart, knowing that it's true. I also request that this board talk to the corrections officers that deal with Megan on a daily basis because they know her better than anyone. I believe people come into our lives for a reason, and I've also had someone that served as an inmate with Megan come to me and let me know how she's done. I want this board and everyone to know that I hold no malice, and Megan knows this. I've written her a letter that she did not respond to. My desire is to be able to have a face-to-face conversation with her so I can completely heal and she can heal further. There are no winners in this, but you know what? Most of us make really stupid decisions when we're young. And at 17, I made some really stupid ones too, just like her, but I didn't kill someone. I didn't make the choice to let a police officer die. I know that Megan was after love. She wanted to be loved. I understand that. She knows this from the letter that I wrote her. But I want you to know the person that you let die, if you would have even given him even a wink or a I'm not okay or God please help me, he would have died defending you instead of not having a clue and getting ambushed. I want you to take responsibility. I need to know that you've taken responsibility for these things and that you know that you let a good human being, someone that was a true hero, you let him die. And then you let another hero be shot in the head, as well as other civilians. You ran after that man that didn't even care about you. Do you even think for 5 seconds he thought that you would go to prison? Like, he didn't care. And I know that you were desperate to be loved, but if you would have ran for any one of those officers, you would have been safe and you probably wouldn't be sitting here right here today. So, responsibility for the actions and choices that are made that day are important. And remorse is so, so, so important. I think with those two things in place, that I would be one of her biggest cheerleaders to get out of this place and live a full life. I would like nothing more than Megan to be able to fall in love and get someone really, really good like I got not once, but twice. If I can rebuild, she can. If my family, who was completely shattered by her ripple, I'm talking, if you have a glass lake and you drop a pebble in it, you know how you have the ripple that goes out? Her ripple caused a tidal wave over our family and shattered us. There was nothing left of us. And every one of us in our family have had to rebuild and become someone new. And there's still healing being done to this day. Remorse and responsibility are huge. And responsibility for choices and realizing her choices, if she even would have made one different choice, we wouldn't be here today. I wish the best for her. I really want her to be able to get out, but if she hasn't done those two things, I think she should serve her full sentence. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Would you like to give a statement as well? So go ahead and move to the microphone. And again, for the record, state your legal name.
My legal name is Mary Kathy Nielsen Ride, and I am Sergeant Corey Wright's mother.
And would you please raise your right hand? Do you promise the testimony you will give will be truthful and accurate?
Yes,
Thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
thank you. I just have one or two things I'd like to say. I'd like Megan to understand and the parole board that the sentence that was given to our family the day that Corey was shot and killed was a lifetime sentence, and that he has had no opportunity for an appeal or to ever be able to be back with his family again. And I hope Megan has had these many months that she has been incarcerated to think about that, because those actions that happened that day on her part that contributed to his death made that life sentence for our family. And I agree with everything that Nanette has said. The ripple effect has been tremendous. I also want Megan to know that none of us should be defined only by the worst thing that we have ever done, and that there's only one perfect judge, and that is God. Only He knows and sees all, and only He knows all the thoughts and intentions of our hearts. We understand that everyone makes mistakes, and that we are all in need of some time of the grace and mercy and forgiveness of our Savior Jesus Christ. I have forgiven Megan for her actions that day. I want her to know that she will now be defined by what she does after she to come out of prison. I hope that she can put these misdeeds in the past and that she can make better choices. She's the only person that will determine what happens in her future. No one else can guarantee what her future will be but her. And I want her to know that her future can be bright and beautiful and filled with joy and happiness if that's what she chooses. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Need to take a second?
please.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
You ready?
Yeah.
You're not required to, but you do have the opportunity to respond. And remember, this is simply a response to those victim statements. We will talk about other things later. So first, do you wish to make a response to those statements?
Yes, I would. May I be able to do it individually?
Say that again?
May I be able to do it individually?
Yes, you need to look at me, not them.
Okay.
But you can respond in that way if you choose.
Okay. I just want to first start off by saying to all my victims that I am so sorry for everything I've caused. And this is something I'm gonna have to deal with the rest of my life, and it doesn't get easier, and I imagine it doesn't get easier for them. I know that they struggle, and I couldn't imagine losing not only a person, but being able to do simple things in life. I couldn't imagine that. I would like to first respond to Miss Nanette Ride. I did receive your letter, and there's a policy and a rule with the prison that I'm not allowed to contact my victims, whether they contact me first or not. I have got with Doug Fawson to be able to start the victim offender dialogue program to where it can be approved to write you back or possibly be able to visit you, whatever you would like to do. I am working with him on it, and I asked my lawyer to write you a letter just to let you know that it wasn't me delaying on responding to you or anything. I just want to be able to that I follow all the policies and the rules here. That way I didn't get in trouble and she didn't get in trouble, but be able to go about it the way that the prison would like it to go about, with victims and offenders being able to talk. So I am just waiting on that. I have been trying to talk to him monthly and with my lieutenants and captain to be able to see the progress on it and when I could possibly write back or talk to you. So I have been doing that, and please don't think that I just sat it aside. It is something I have been working on, but it takes time for Doug Fawson to be able to review it and the approval process he has to go through. Olive Ride's family, I wish I could take back everything. I wish I could take back that day, and I was in a very domestic violence relationship, and if I would have just asked for help and trusted my family to help me get out of that, I know we wouldn't be here today. But I know that I do want to be a positive member of society, and I want to be able to give back to those areas that I can give back to. Greg Sherwood, I would like to just tell you sorry for everything. Growing up, as you know, I had a mother with a major brain injury. She was a victim of a drunk driving accident. And even though I wasn't born at the time, um, I still feel the victim impact of watching my mom having to go through her struggles. And I couldn't imagine your struggles and your trauma. And I know it probably doesn't mean much, but when I found out that you was able to go back to work during my other courts, I was cheering because I'm glad that you didn't let something stop you. You just kept on going. And I hope that you can take with me saying that as something powerful because I know I'm probably just a person and I don't know your feelings towards me really, but I just want to say I'm proud of you if that even matters. And every night that I got locked up, the first book I got was the Bible when I asked for it when I went to jail. I don't know why, but it was just something that it was like a prompt from God. And ever since then, I've kind of been slacking on reading it daily, but I've been trying to at least read it at least a couple times a week and being able to draw near to him and get my relationship better with him. I don't know if Shutney, I don't know how to say her name correctly. I don't know if it's Shutney or Chutney Williams. Um, I want to apologize to her for putting her and her daughter and her unborn baby in the situation that I put him in. I was scared. There's no, I was scared and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. And I shouldn't have did what I did. And for that, I'm very sorry. But I can't name all my victims for sure because it wasn't just the people involved in that day that were affected. It was people community-wide, statewide, nationwide that were affected that day by my actions. And all I can do is just show you guys, I've been trying to show you guys over the last 10 years that I can be positive inmate in here and follow rules and be able to achieve stuff. And I hope to take that outside of here. And I want to give back to the communities I've affected. And by doing that, I plan on doing service dog training. I know it's not much, but it's a start, and hopefully I can grow from there and be able to help the communities that were affected in a positive way and hopefully one day be able to make changes for them in a positive way and so that something like this never happens again. And all I can do is just take one day at a time and just continue to be positive and to follow rules and to obey them and just try and be and prove to you guys that I can be a positive member of society. And I started that by in here.
Thank you for that statement. Rather than going through all of the facts of the offenses. I have read your statement and I know what your position is, but it would be helpful. The victims talked about acceptance of responsibility. And again, this question is not meant to embarrass you or them or anybody else. But I'd like to get your perspective now. All of these crimes that occurred, were you responsible for your actions in committing these crimes, or were you simply a victim who was subject to somebody else's criminal actions? What is your position now?
My position now is I take full responsibility for my actions in that day. I should have been able to be brave enough and warn Sergeant Corey Wright at the beginning. But even before that, I should have spoke to my family and got out of the domestic violence relationship I was in. I take full responsibility. I should have just stopped. I should have warned Wright. I should have somehow asked, and now looking back, I do know that he knew something was wrong because he kept on asking me if I was okay. And I kept on telling him I was fine. But really, I wasn't. I wasn't okay. But even after that, all my other victims, I take full responsibility for my actions in that day, in my involvement of all the crimes that were committed.
Sounds like you recognize there are things that you not only could, but should have done differently. Am I understanding you correctly?
Yes.
Sometimes we hear that something such as this was a tragedy, but a tragedy implies something like a hurricane or an earthquake. But this was something that was caused by people doing criminal action. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
It should not have occurred?
No.
There was quite a bit of restitution that's been ordered. I assume that you agreed to pay for that.
Yes. I have paid about $600 towards it, and I do plan on continuing to pay that. It's the only way I can try to make amends with my victims.
Let's talk about your history with substance abuse.
Okay.
According to your packet, you began using alcohol at 14 and meth at 17. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Can you tell me about the meth use? How did you get started?
So at the time I had impacted wisdom teeth, and we called the ortho surgeon and he prescribed me Lortab, and they gave me the lowest dose, which I believe at the time was 5 milligrams, and it was still making me sick, and I was throwing up and stuff, which was making my mouth hurt worse. So I would took half of that and I was still getting sick. And Jose Angel Garcia was the one that introduced me to methamphetamine, and I gave in to his peer pressure on that it would help my pain, and I did it. And when I did it, I ended up just throwing up afterwards, which would make my mouth hurt worse. And he told me, he's like, if you just keep on doing it, he's like, your pain will go away. Well, I gave in to him and I did it a couple more times within a month, and it never made the pain go away.
Is your position that methamphetamine use did or did not have anything to do with your actions in regard to these crimes?
I believe it did have a part in it.
Tell me how.
Well, when people are on methamphetamine, they don't make correct decisions or logical decisions that they would make if they were sober. It alters your mind, but some people, it makes you feel, I don't like, time just goes by, I want to say. Um, with the couple times I did use it, it did alter my mind in a way, and I didn't like it. I didn't like not being in control of my own self, of my own actions. And it changes a person to almost like, I want to say almost like a monster.
I want to make sure I'm understanding you. Did you feel like meth changed you into a illogical thinking monster, or are you referring to other people?
I'm referring to other people.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. How would you describe your mental health condition currently? And I don't mean in this room, I mean in the past few months or so. How would you describe your mental health?
Do you mind clarifying that question a little more for me?
There's no right or wrong answer. I'm not looking for you to repeat what I think you should say.
Okay.
It's just generally, how has your mental health condition been? Good, bad? Is there any mental health issue that you're struggling with that is not being addressed? All of the above.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. I do struggle with major depression, and I have been diagnosed with some other mental health disorders. The past 3 months, my night terrors have came back in the middle of the night, and they usually end up being bits and pieces of the crime that was committed that day. I end up waking up screaming, crying. Sometimes I can't even wake myself up. And I've been working with therapy at least monthly, and I've been able to get on meds that have helped me. But I do believe that it's just an ongoing process of therapy and meds and working through my depression and my mental health struggles that I do have.
Have things improved with the medication and the therapy?
Yes.
Is there anything about your physical health that prevents you from either working or participating in programming?
No.
You mentioned programming, and I will note that you have been overwhelmingly successful in the programming that you have participated in. Are there any of these that you have found to be particularly useful and beneficial to you?
For sure.
Let's talk about them one at a time. Is there one that comes to mind as being beneficial?
If it's okay with you, I would like my victims to know that I just received my second associate's degree in anthropology. My first one was last summer. It was my associates of general studies in science. College has been the biggest thing that has helped me Um, with the time that I had for the board, it's not easy to get into life skill classes and other classes that other people are so easily to get into. And even when I begged my caseworkers, I would write letters to the instructors and beg them, will you please just give me one seat to be able to be in this life skills class? Often I was turned away because there was other people that took priority over me due to their board tentative coming up or release tentative coming up. But with that said, um, I've been a part of Solid Community College since 2016. I've been a part of the University of Utah. They do a Utah prison education program out here. Most of the classes are non-credited college classes. I've been a part of that for approximately 4 years now. And then I just recently to get accepted into Davis Technical College in November. But overall, each college has taught me different things. And I would like to start with Slick. When I first went into school, I was very scared. I took resource classes growing up, and I didn't feel like I had the confidence to be able to achieve anything in the world, really. And I went to class, and I often sometimes gave up, but the instructor I had at the time was like, just don't give up, just keep on doing it. You can do it. I believe in you. And I just stuck it out. And after that, when I had my first break, I was begging to school. I was like, please, like, can I go back? Can I get another class? And after that, it just kept on going, and it has helped build my self-esteem better than any other class I've taken here. Hope that, and I tell my other, they sometimes ask me what the best class or what I think of a class, and I always college, and they look at me like I'm crazy, but I tell them my story that college is what helped me build my self-esteem. College is what helped me know that I'm a person of value, that I'm a human being, even though I'm a number right now, that I am capable of doing very potential things. And with this said, they have helped me. Slick is gonna help me be able to, if and when I'm released, to I want to pursue my bachelor's in engineering. I don't know exactly what field yet, but I want to do something in engineering. And I have talked to the director, Dr. Bakavoy and Dr. Bradbury. And they are willing to help set me up after this to be able to finish my engineering classes through Slick. And then once I finish through there, I do want to attend the University of Utah and finish my other engineering classes through there. Through UPEP, all the college courses I have took through that I did. And sometimes I get looked at weird by other inmates, like, why are you wasting time on a class that's non-credited when you could be doing something else with your time? And I simply look at them and I just tell them it's not about the credit. It's not about that. I want to improve myself as a person and a human being. And how I can do that is through education. And through each class I've taken through them, it's helped me tremendously be able to become a better person, but also be able to help my fellow students as a peer and help push them when they're struggling. Because if it wasn't for the first teacher that helped push me, I probably wouldn't have as many degrees as I have now. And then I just recently started Davis Applied Technology Center in November. I am currently doing information technology, and I did bring a copy of my transcripts if you would like to look at them for my grades. Due to prison moves, I won't be able to complete my information technology class because they are getting transferred to the guy's side. I will be able to finish my A+ certification. I'm hoping to take my exam next week on it. And then after that, I have it set up with them to be able to do automation and robotics next. And hopefully I can start that by the beginning of next month. Davis Applied Technology Center is a different environment. I go from 8 in the morning to 2 in the afternoon, 5 days a week. And they help me like when I struggle, or they just help remind me that I am a person and I do matter and I can change and I can help so many people.
Let me ask you if I could. You successfully completed outpatient drug treatment. Was that something that was meaningful to you?
Yeah, it was. So what it was I had a fight to get into it. They didn't want to take me due to my board tentative date being so far out. They wanted me to wait closer, and I kept on just talking to one of the therapists. Her name was Deb Perry, and told her like, I understand where you guys are coming from on wanting to wait closer to my board date, but the thing is, I'm ready to make the changes now, and I want to be able to be a positive inmate and help people. And I believe doing that. I said I believe attending your class will help me, and she actually helped fight for me to get into that class. And I want to say I roughly did about 16 months of it, but it was only required to do 6 weeks of it. But I asked her to keep on being a part of it because the group therapy and the one-on-one therapy I had with her helped me a lot mentally.
Tell me how.
I felt like it was a safe environment to be able to open up and know that what was talked about there would stay there, along with my therapist and other peers. She helped talk to us about different coping mechanisms that I never really thought of, and I still use a lot of those coping mechanisms to this day.
Give me an example.
Yes, one of my big ones is exercising and journaling.
Tell me how that helps you cope.
With exercising, so I struggle with self-mutilation, cutting myself. And through exercise, I've been able to take that pain out in a more positive manner than harming myself.
Thank you for telling me about programming. Again, I will note there are approximately 2 pages of successful programming. The ones that are incomplete were because you were moved and were unable to finish. Now, I do want to talk to you about disciplinary violations. There have been a few, including one in January. Can you tell me generally what is occurring that has led to these disciplinary violations?
A lot of them was I didn't use my resources, as in talking to the sergeants or the correctional officers, and asked them for help when I needed help. And instead, I broke rules and I chose to do things my way. And when I should have just asked them for help, because they most likely would have just helped me with it and would have been able to possibly accomplish what I wanted to accomplish.
And I will say, these are not assaults or weapons offenses. These are generally for not obeying the guard's order to move from one area to another, that sort of thing. Has your mindset changed on whether it's important to follow those rules, even though You may have thought in the past they're relatively minor.
For sure.
Tell me how you view these sort of things now.
Now that I look at it, there's rules for reasons. And I talked to one of my sergeants recently, and I was talking to her about some of the rules and regulations and stuff. And she explained to me that the rules are in place because someone at some time did something stupid. And so the rules are here to protect us. As I talked to her about it, she just helped me realize that she's like, if you can't follow the rules in here, how are you going to follow the rules out there? And I said, you're right. I said, I should have came and talked to you or another sergeant, and I should have told you guys what was going on with me, that I was struggling mentally or whatever at the case was at the time. And I should have asked you guys for help.
Now, I read your packet that you submitted a couple of times, actually. But I want to make sure that things have not changed. If you were to be paroled someday, tell me where you would intend on living. What is your current intention?
My current intention is to live with my dad, Jerry Grunwald. I'll be residing in Draper. Then I have contacted Karen Mall through the Summit Community Counseling, and have it set up for when and if I'm released, to be able to start my trauma therapy through them, but also be able to still access my medications. And if not, my plan B would be to live with my cousin, Felicia Rodriguez. She lives in West Valley. Her husband owns a landscaping business, and so I will be working with him, and also the tracks is close by there as well. And a plan C is if the board sees fit for me to go to Orange Street, which is a halfway house, I'm more than willing to go there and accomplish the program.
Tell me what your thinking is. Go to Orange Street first and then your father, or you'd rather go to your father and not do Orange Street at all? Tell me, clarify that for me.
So, from my understanding, I already have a vehicle, a truck. I just need to do some more mechanic work on it, and then it will be ready to go. I won't be able to have that at Orange Street. So if I go to my dad's, I'll be able to have the positive support of my family there, but also be able to have a transportation. But if not, I'm willing to do the Orange Street program. And I know that they will help me be able to get a bus pass and be able to commute on and off from there. I don't know much about the Orange Street program, but I'm willing to do whatever the board seats fit.
Thank you for clarifying that. You've talked about a number of ways in which you feel that you've changed. Are there any other ways we haven't talked about that you feel that you have changed since you committed these crimes?
Yes, I would like to bring up another program, if that's okay with you, that's helped me.
Sure.
There's a program that started in about 2017, 2018. I started, it's through a nonprofit organization called Canines with a Cause. And what they did is they brought in dogs that were from shelters, and the female inmates were able to teach these dogs the 7 common commands, but also help the dog build up its own confidence. And you have to go through, I went through about 3 months of training I had to do and be supervised with dogs. and you had to be signed off by the captain in order to work with these dogs, and you lived in a section. Around this time of my life, a couple months before this, I attempted to take my life, and one of my friends walked up to my room and found me and stopped me. And I told her, I said, I didn't know how to give back to the communities I've affected with first responders. And she was like, why don't you go to the dog program? And she introduced me to it. And with the dog program, I was able to train a dog. So I had a dog 24/7 with me, and I was responsible for it to go outside, get fed, exercise, training, and be able to pass off the commands in a timely manner. And when I first started it, I was nervous, I was scared, but I ended up passing off a lot of dogs that went to veterans that needed help. And when my first dog went on a pairing with his first veteran, um, I was nervous. I was scared because I was like, I hope he just does good. And his name was Muppet, and he ended up paired up with that veteran, and the veteran fell asleep without his CPAP machine on, and he woke him up and basically saved his life. And after that, it helped me push more to help every dog that came in, to help give their confidence back, but also know that I was helping the community I affected in a way that not many people get that chance to be able to return back positive to that community. And teaching those dogs and giving those dogs confidence back, but also obedience so that they could go out and save someone's life, but also be able to be a part of that person's life, changed my thinking on so many levels. And it helped me be able to know that even though I'm locked up, I can still give back to that community in a positive manner that if I was outside, I probably wouldn't able to have the chance to do.
In the last few minutes we have before we close, is there anything we have not talked about that you feel the board needs to know?
No, I just want to, if I may, just tell all my victims that I really am sorry for everything I've done and my part I had in that day. And all I can do is continue to pay restitution and obey the rules, not just in prison, but outside of prison also, and show them that I really am trying to make amends with them. And I just want to give back to the communities that I've affected in a positive manner. And I hope that one day I can be able to do more with that.
All right. As I stated at the beginning, no decision is made in this hearing today. At least 3 members of the board must agree on what comes next, whether that's a rehearing, whether it's parole or something else. Those decisions generally take about a month or so. And I want to be clear that none of my questions were a prediction of what might happen. Do you understand?
Yes.
The decision will be based on this hearing and everything that has been submitted previously, all the documents, pre-sentence reports, information from your attorney, everything. I want to be clear that the decision is not based solely on what happened in the last hour. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
But I do want to thank those who spoke in person and online, because that was very important information. Those statements were very well thought out, well prepared, and obviously very heartfelt. So thank you to both of you and Sergeant Sherwood. With that being said, we will conclude the hearing at this time.
Okay, so let's unpack this. And first, I'll share with you the decision that the board made. And the decision they made is denied, but this is a big but in my opinion. She gets a rehearing on 12/20/25, which, why this is a big deal in my opinion is that you're making the victims show up in a year, basically a year and a half. Why not just say you can get a rehearing in, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years? It's just crazy that that perpetrators are always, it seems, in the legal system put before the victims. Not only that, but you're going to have them come sometime before Christmas to do this. During the holiday season, you're really going to send them back to on it's just so insensitive. What they wrote specifically was, Department of Corrections is to complete a mental health review and expect you to participate in cognitive behavioral therapy. The decision is based on your offenses caused substantial physical, psychological injury to the victims that is greater than similar offenses with the same sentence guideline crime category. I mean, they're basically writing, they're copy pasting stuff. The poor institutional behavior and major violations in prison rules, your ongoing behavior warrants additional incarceration and program completion. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't even, I mean, I don't even feel that they addressed her criminal activity or her behavior in prison. Although one of the victims alluded to it, and now you might say, did she have remorse? Was it genuine remorse? Was she faking it? I did see, zoomed in, we can take another look where she did shed a tear. I know that that's not a defining, although we have seen so many bad actors come up to these parole hearings and fake the tears, but they forget to even grab for a tissue box, or they hold one tissue the whole time, which magically stays dry through the fake crying. Here, I did spot a tear, but who knows if it was for herself or if it was authentic.
Easier for them. I know that they struggle and
Because what's important to remember is that in 2015, she had her trial, and listen to what she says in her defense. We'll go over it. And it is not someone who's taking accountability. So, you could say, well, it's 9 years later, so she's grown. Maybe. But, and she has a right to her defense within, and it's all up for debate. I'm not sold either way, but so here it is. She takes a plea deal in Utah. This is after she was found guilty, and then after she won the appeal, she takes a plea deal. And this plea deal just took place. Look, this article was written in 2021. Can you even imagine? So, a woman convicted as a teenager for her role in the murder of a Utah County Sheriff deputy has a plea deal to reduce charges. Megan Grinwald pled guilty in 4th District Court earlier this month to second-degree felony charges of manslaughter and assault on a police officer, according to court records. The plea bargain with the Utah County prosecutors avoids a new trial. The Utah Supreme Court ordered in 2020 when it overturned her conviction on jury instruction errors. So it was the Supreme Court overturned it on jury instruction errors, which is, the judge screwed this up, according to the Supreme Court, not the DA, and that's frustrating. Wow. I wonder if Grunwald, then 17, was with her boyfriend, Jose Angel Garcia, on the side of the road when Utah County Sheriff Sergeant Corey White approached their vehicle and shot and killed Sergeant Ride. We heard from his wife and mother, right? And then this is her testifying. This is her testifying just in 2015. He was like, step your foot on the brake. He reached over and put it in drive. I was like, what are you doing? She testified at her 2015 trial. He points the gun at my head and says, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to kill you and your family. And that look he gave me, I was looking at the devil. Remember, this is her standing trial in just 2015, okay? Grunwald said she was forced to drive the vehicle in a multi-county chase where other police officers were shot at. Deputy Greg Sherwood was shot in the head, and we heard from him. What a gracious man. They all spoke so elegantly. Really just wonderfully done. It was just, it drew me in. Everyone who spoke. The chase ended, any of the victims that spoke. The chase ended with his death because Utah has no accomplice law. Grunwald was initially charged with homicide. After trial in 2015, was convicted by a jury, but the state's top court overturned the conviction in a 4-1 ruling. The court declared that the instructions to the jury about accomplice liability law might have led to a different outcome. I wonder, how does a mistake like that happen? You would think that the instructions should be copy paste. You just read out whatever it is that the instructions are. Wow. I was reckless as to whether my aid would result in the death of Sergeant Ride, Grunwald wrote in a statement submitted to the court with her plea. Where she originally faced up to life in prison, Grunwald's new plea deal will likely result in reduced prison time. She's scheduled to be sentenced next month. And again, like I said, the sentence is still 100 years, but in Utah, it's a gimmick. And she knew that when she took the deal because it's pretty much immediate parole eligibility. Also the thing that his wife, she was when she spoke, she had a mic drop moment when she said that monster, the one who killed and then was killed, how he had been paroled after stabbing his friend over 20 times after 4 years. And the parole board should be held responsible, frankly, for all of this, and the justice system. And this is what we see in these scenarios. How you can say, wait a minute, how does a man get paroled after stabbing anyone, forget his friend, 20 times? You would say, it's exaggerated, it's not true, but it is true. We see this stuff all the time in every state, but Utah's nuts. I mean, they love to give big sentences and they love to parole early. And that's what we see over and over and over again. And really, that's, I think, where a lot of the focus should really be on. Now, if some of you are wondering what happened, she was pregnant, what happened with her child, I actually don't know. I can't see anywhere where she gave birth or did. I don't think she did. I don't know what happened there also, if you were wondering. I don't see any info on it. And thank you, Richard, for Richard provided, there's like 30 links on this. This is a big case. There's a lot of information. So thank you, Richard, for, of course, putting all of it in a spreadsheet in order of dates, so it's easy for me. But there you have it. It's I think I said my piece. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you, Richard, again. And with that, I'll let you go.